Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, well done, Tim. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December meeting of the Heritage Collection Committee. I'd just like to read a statement of acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that this land that we meet on today is traditional lands for the Gawler people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Gawler people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Gawler people today. As far as a roll call, it looks like everyone is here except for Paul is still on leave. So I don't think there's anyone to apologise. I think we're all here. And are there any motions to grant leave of absence at all? It says, do we have any non-attendance? But we don't, do we? Because everybody's here. Does anyone... Actually, I'm finding it a bit... Are there any declarations of interest that anyone needs to declare? Anything that anyone needs to declare? And and anything anyone's got to say about the last minutes?
I'm happy to move that they be accepted.
Okay, Helen's moved. Is there anyone to second? Second. Right. Judy. And is there any business? Oh, yeah, sorry. All those in favour? Cool. Is there any business that arising from the minutes? So we'll move on to the items that we're considering. The first one, 6.1, is the officer's recommendation that the Heritage Committee recommends to Council that the following objects be sent to Art Lab. There's two items, a patriotic fun silk program and a Dawkins wedding veil, which both sound really very interesting. And does Jacinta want to say anything about that?
Through the Chair, these are two items that staff have identified need some conservation work. The silk program, because we'd like to exhibit that as part of our Women and War exhibition next year. It's a program of events that were held to support the Boer War. So it's the earliest war piece like that we have in the collection. It's silk, so it's quite faded. It has had to have mould at some stage. It's inactive mould, but Art Lab thought that they could just do a bit of a tidy up and a clean. And the veil, which is a very exciting new addition that's come from the National Trust. As I said in the report, it's quite unique, that wedding. I have never seen a reference to such a large wedding before, a wedding where they had a marquee for the reception in the bride's parents' garden, where they had security overnight to make sure the local lads didn't do anything a little bit funny. So it was obviously a large wedding, and Mrs. Dawkins had a long association with charitable works and things in the town. So it's uniting two families, but her father had a haberdashery store. It's likely that the material came from that store. So it meets our criteria for significance on a number of different touchstones. It's very fragile, so it needs some work. How much Art Lab can do with it, they won't really know until they start to get in there. But I think it's certainly worth having it cleaned, seeing what they can do with it, and to make sure that as an object it's there for future generations to look at and understand. And as we are aware, we don't have too many things in the collection with a female connection. And this is an opportunity to, through this object, understand a little bit more about Mrs Dawkins and her role in the town.
So is this the same Dawkins name that seems to have, so it's the same family?
So yes, through the chair, the Dawkins family have multi-generational connection to this area and just outside of the town of Gawler. So yes, it's part of that family.
Any other comments or questions?
It's not the only silk program we have. Is that right? I seem to recall there are other items similar.
So through the chair, no, it's not the only silk program. So we have later silk programs. We have programs for, I think we have a silk program for when E.H. Kuhn left the region. A few different events, silk programs were printed for those. But this is the only one we have that I'm aware of that's associated with a war effort and fundraising.
So would someone like to move? Yeah.
Thanks, Chairman. Adrian, this morning, and I've left at home, I was in the administration centre and I noticed that there's some heritage grants available at the moment. Are you aware of those, whether anything like this could be, you know, sort of looked at as a heritage grant? But they're in the administration centre. I pinched one of them to bring here, but I left at home. But are you aware of that?
So through the chair, I believe the grants you're referring to are for fabric building and things like that, not for items. We can fund this. We have a budget line for conservation. It's not overly expensive, so we can fund this out of our operating budget.
Just to add to that, the centre is working with a person who is going to be applying for one of those, so Jacinta's doing some support for that.
So would someone like to move? Judy? Yeah. And Deb second. So I'll say it was carried. The next item is a permission to publish, which is a group photo of railway workers at the railway station, which contains apparently the only image of this person that this lady came to look for.
Okay, we might go to Plan B. So, through the chair, this is a request from Jeanette Manhattan. This photograph is in the public domain, but we have a named copy of it. And because we have a named copy, she was able to identify a family relative. There is no other photograph of this person existing, so very excited. And so the request is to have a digital copy of that photograph and their family member.
Yeah, happy to move that. It's interesting to do with just how many pictures like this are around the place, because you know, when my wife goes shopping and looks in dress shops, I go into the op shops. You know, the other day I was down at Victor Harbour. We were down there, and I was just amazed at the amount of old photos of you know, people around the Victor Harbour area that have actually retired down there. And I went around to the tourist office and I mentioned it to them, and they said, well, for sure, so much of that, but we are not collecting old photographs anymore in the Victor Harbour area. So, you know, we're lucky that we're still getting some of these coming to us. So I'm happy to so move that.
I'm happy to second that.
Okay, can I see a show of hands? Do I have to press something on this? Carried. So item 6.3 is the Heritage Committee work plan update, and the officer recommends that the committee notes the Gawler Heritage Collection work plan update report. Do you like to talk to that?
And we're back. So this is our annual work plan review and draft work plan for 2026. I'd like to draw the committee's attention to some notable achievements that the committee and council staff made last year. First of those was the sale of the Steinway piano. That has been an ongoing discussion point for well and truly over 50 years without that piano getting the attention it deserved or a decision being made. The committee took the time and read the reports, the 3 reports that staff presented to them, so that they had a fully informed understanding of the history of the piano and the possibilities for it going forward. And we made the decision to sell that piano and put those funds into a reserve account, which can be used for the conservation of the collection or for acquiring new items into the collection. So I think that's a notable achievement of this calendar year. We also had the Heritage, a Concept in Evolution Symposium. So that was driven by the committee, and that brought together a large group of people from diverse backgrounds and from all over the place to come to Gawler and have a discussion, a lively and informative discussion about where heritage sits in our values, in our streetscapes, and in our moving forward plans. We had a donation of $9,450 from GIHA during the year, which is a sizable donation, and we thank them for that. That was their contribution to the Diprotodon statue. And we also had the unveiling of the Marianne Tucker leather frame and embroidery. So there was quite a lot that happened in addition to our new exhibitions, our History Festival events, our day-to-day activities. So it's been a busy year.
Helen?
Yeah, if I may. Thank you for the report, and I just add that as well as the 3 reports from council, we also took submissions from the community, so we did quite a bit of community engagement as well and consider that input in our decision making. So I agree, I think we faced a difficult decision, but after lots of discussion and debate, I think, yeah, we've come to a good place for that. So, yeah, I think it's been a very productive year, and well done to the staff and volunteers involved.
Sorry, Brian.
Thanks, Chairman Adrian. I'm a bit of a radical when it comes to suggesting things, but when I was looking at the opening the other night, or of the Tucker thing, I looked at the piano and thought, wow, so good that this is all ready to go. And as you know, there's a big thing going on all over the world. I mean, at the moment, I watched it on television the other day, where the piano has really taken off in Great Britain, and it's been big here too. Are you allowing people to play the piano?
So through the chair, you might remember a couple of years ago we had monthly concerts where people were playing the piano, and they initially got a great audience, but it petered out. What we're looking at doing is bringing back a couple of different concerts a year. So I have had some people who have indicated that they'd like to play the piano. I've also had people say that their child is in grade 1 and they need to practice the piano. That's not the right piano for that activity. And we're also mindful that it is a quiet space, the reading room. So we will be looking at having, probably in the winter months, a couple of concerts with people who have demonstrated capacity to play and respect that it is a heritage instrument, that it will never be quite concert grade in pitch, but who would enjoy that opportunity. So yes, we will be doing a few more concerts. If you just want to come and play, the answer is no, that's not something we can accommodate with that piano.
If I may, that's great, because there's so many people in Gawler. Piano was a big thing in our community. You know, my mother was a piano teacher for years, but she's up there. It's a bit hard to get her to come down here and play the piano and that sort of thing. But my wild dreams, I was thinking of a sound system that plays it from the piano out onto the front, you know, on the veranda, as atmosphere, instead of hearing the bloody cars and trucks going up and down the street. And if certain people in the community, which can certainly play the piano and are recognised to be really good, would you take anything like that in consideration? I mean, you know, the street's dead other than traffic and that, and it wouldn't be hard for our tech man to be able to set up a mic to go from there out onto the veranda, and people walk down the street to listen to the piano, that beautiful piano playing. So that's just a wild suggestion, but I'm sure it'll work.
Through the chair, we can investigate. There are certainly EPA regulations around pumping noise into the street. So as much as trucks make a lot of noise, we did, initially when we had the concerts, we did understand that idea and we opened the doors thinking that that might bring people in. Unfortunately, all it brought in was the noise from the road. So it didn't work, but we did try along those lines to get the music from inside going outside.
Actually, Jacinta, can I ask a question? I noticed you talked about the cataloguing items that are existing in outdated formats, and you list a few of them. Are there any others in the collection, like the actual records, like hard records, or?
Yes, there are one or two records. They're not of modern music. They look like they were used for scientific teaching. So so we haven't, obviously we don't have a record player, so we haven't played them, but we will look at transferring those to a digital format. And we've got VHS tape that needs to be transferred. We don't have any nitrate film, which I ascertained that straight away when I took control of the collection, because it's highly volatile. But we have Super 8 film. And we have slides and glass, but we can transfer slides and glass negatives in-house now. Yeah, which is a fabulous resource to be able to use, and we're doing some of that with working with the history team. They have a large collection of glass slides that we'll be transferring, and then we'll be keeping an original copy as well. So there's a number of those different items that we'll be transferring over.
And also, regarding the Rudall building collection, do you have any idea how much is it, or is that just a bit like how long's a piece of string, or?
So through the chair, the reason that we haven't got to the Rudall basement yet is simply a time resource. So there will be a cost involved, because I will have to engage people licensed to work in confined spaces. While I'm perfectly capable and experienced in doing it, apparently I'm not allowed. So people are ruining all my fun. So I will have to engage a plumbing company to do it. But it's just been a time thing. At this stage, we would look at doing it July, August. So if you think after our new exhibition is done, after the History Festival, when things are a little bit quieter, is when, and we're in a new financial year, so I know how much money I've got to spend, is when we'd anticipate doing it.
So I wouldn't be able to go down in scuba gear?
No. So through the chair, you won't be allowed to be anywhere near the site. It is. I mean, look, I know Alan's been down there and he's lived to tell the tale, but... right, okay. I've stood at the top and said I'm not climbing down that ladder. But... So through the chair, I think we're all aware that there's potentially some fabulous records there and we would like to get them. However, they have been there for a very long time and they've been safe thus far. And saying that, I hope we don't get a temporary flood. But it's just a matter of looking at a work schedule and trying to realistically understand what we can achieve. We've taken control of the Show Society's archive. This year, that's a large archive. So the volunteers have spent many, many hours, what we term is gaining control, which is in the first instance understanding what's there and writing lists, and then to start cataloguing them. So it's taken up a large amount of our space, it's taken up a large amount of our time. We need that to be cleared before we take our next large collection.
I'd just like to... sorry, Judy.
Judy.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate that I think that's a really clever method of, looking at the workloads. We don't want to burn out staff or the volunteers, and each project needs a certain amount of time. Similarly, I need to add about the fact that we're looking at the catalogue and we've also done a data cleanse. Not sexy, but absolutely vital, ensuring that the foundation work that the collection is built on is there. So sometimes we have to acknowledge that some of that stuff has to happen before we can go off chasing the treasures. Judy.
Judy's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. All I was going to say was, when we were talking about a recording and all the different formats that you've got, has there been any consideration given to putting some of that stuff on USBs? Because last year I put my family's Super 8 films from my children's when they were little and about 1,000 slides onto USBs. It wasn't done by me, it was done professionally, but it's just such a compact way of keeping, an accessible way of keeping records.
Judy, I think USB is going to be a technology that's it's not going to be there anymore much longer. My new laptop this year does not even have a USB port. Yeah, so it's going to the cloud.
Jacinta.
If I may, through the chair, these items go onto the council system. That system's backed up 3 times a day at 3 different sites, so it's very secure in that space. And as a legislated body, council takes their responsibilities and invests in that area. So I'm very confident that the items that we put into our drive are maintained and are safe. That's different to putting them on the cloud in eHive, so we're backing them up twice, but we've got strong protocols around the storage of this data.
Okay, would someone like to move? Deb's move. Like to second? Okay, passed. Officer's recommendation is that the Heritage Collection Committee notes the Cultural Heritage Centre budget update, October 2025 report. Natasha.
Thank you, through the chair. This report is for the first 4 months of the financial year, July to October. As noted in the report, whilst the centre's been extremely busy and there's a lot going on, the majority of the expenditure is in the third quarter of the financial year. So there's minimal income and expenditure. However, I will just draw your attention to the note where there has been an increase of 54 hours for our volunteers compared to the same time last year. And I think that reflects the large body of work that they're cataloguing at the moment.
Any discussion? Helen.
Right, thank you. I'm just checking. I note with pleasure the fact that there is now a reserve. I think that's very reassuring to the community that the monies that come in from a variety of, whether it be donations or sales, is identified and isolated for use back again. I think that's been a very good situation to have. Just a reassurance when people are doing directed donations.
Okay. Yes. Oh yeah, Brian.
The storage of all this beautiful gear that's being done up and everything, the whole lot, and so forth. May I ask, is that adequate, and is it working? Because you know, we've got some inclement weather and the safety of it for not being stolen and so forth. I'm just wondering how that's going. You know, is more needed? Ship containers or whatever they're called, and so yeah.
So through the chair, currently we have adequate storage. We're a little bit pinched at the moment because of the Pioneer Park wall project. So that's impeding on us. Generally speaking, we're doing well. We routinely, although we haven't for a little while, send things to the committee for deaccessioning that aren't necessary. Our off-site storage is secure, so we haven't had any concerns about security so far, and every time I've checked so far, we've had no issues with weather or anything else, and certainly the items on this site are secure and in climate-controlled conditions. Going forward, it will be an interesting question. We need to, because some of these, as you know, these important donations, I'm talking about the Show Society, potentially what's in Riddell's basement, that may start to impact on our storage facilities. So that will be, I think, a consideration in a couple of years' time. We need to start thinking about, we still have a number of items, drawers of items actually, that are predominantly photocopies from the 90s, and we can hold those as digital files. There is no need for them to be physical files. We haven't yet got around to digitising all of that. So that will free up some space. So we're looking at, it's a balancing act. We've still got things going out through deaccessioning or digitisation, but we have things coming in. So at this stage we're okay. I think it would be prudent for the committee to have it on their radar in a couple of years' time. We do have a container at the depot where we put things from exhibitions that we might reuse again. That's not the collection. So, and that's handy for that sort of things like that. So, yeah, so I know that there was a concern that we would be inundated with offers, and I get offered pianos regularly, and family Bibles, but we're not inundated with them. We're okay at the moment. We are aware of it, and I think it's prudent for the committee, as I said, to have it on your radar, to keep asking us as staff every couple of years, where are we at that? We can certainly arrange, once we've put Pioneer Park, that project to completion, we can have another look around at our storage facilities on site. So that's something to think about too.
I concur with that completely, but it's not only the storage, it's your research space and your processing space. And the popularity is growing that I think that also needs to be considered, as well as, of course, the opening hours will come onto the radar as well. But given the long-term financial plan for the council, I think having a thought and getting that decided so we can feed it in is a good idea. So, yeah.
Okay, would someone like to move that the budget is noted? Helen. And second? Judy. Oh, carried. Item number 7.1 is collections acquisition update for December. Would Jacinta like to say something about that?
So through the chair, these are the items that have come into the collection up until this time. There's a broad list. Is there any questions about any particular items of interest?
Yeah, I was wondering about the first one, the families of John and Mary Matilda.
So that's just a published family history that the family have donated a copy to. So that family had strong links to Evanston, so it's relevant for anyone who's looking in that area.
That's actually the surname, is it, Matilda? Ah.
I just, through the chair, again, it's such a breadth. It's local family histories, items, current material that's being created more recently all the way through. And then it's things like the Mary Ann Tucker photo turning up, which then adds to the provenance of the frame. So, again, congratulations. It's really we're starting to see a very wide range of material coming in, all related through the themed approach that we have to acquisition. So, well done.
Just if I may, through the chair, a number of these items have come from the National Trust, and we thank them again for their strong working partnership with the Cultural Heritage Centre. So these are items that they thought would be better housed here. Jane McKinlay's BHP certificate, very interesting document, that one, and the 3-day event album. So that is a large album created by the organising committee. It starts from the beginnings of the committee right through to the event. And so next year is the 40th anniversary of the International Horse Trials in Gawler. So we're looking at doing an event to mark that event. So this was a fabulous thing that the National Trust gave us so that we can really understand all of the work that went into having that in Gawler. We see the newspaper articles in the bunyip and the beer cans. We've got a few beer cans in the collection, empty beer cans in the collection, empty. But this gives us an understanding of all the work that the local organising committee put in, the lobbying of the federal politicians, that, there's letters of support from Malcolm Fraser and all sorts of people in there to get this to happen in Gawler at that time. So it was a very important object to come into the collection.
It also ties to the use of the reading room as the royal reception, where the Institute librarian Hilda Heinrich met Prince Philip.
Judy?
I just wanted to say that one of the incredibly important organisational things about that was getting people to host guests from overseas. And we were living in Gawler South at the time, and we hosted a family during that time. There were 6 of us and there were 3 of them. So it was a lot of people did that, and those narratives, those stories would be quite interesting to have.
Can I ask about? Can I ask about one item that I'm immediately drawn to, which is the Marchant donation? It's not something I remember seeing come in, but I'm not there every day.
So through the chair, they came through the National Trust. So they were items from the Marchant family that they had, and so they'll get added to our store of knowledge on the Marchant family.
There are many photographs.
No, Adrian, I think there's only a couple of photographs. There's some embroidery. What else did we have? There is the photograph of the Mikado, yes. So no, it's not a large, it's only 3 or 4 items.
Oh yes, I didn't look at the detail there. Thank you. Brian?
Thanks, Chairman Adrian. Yeah, it's interesting. If I may ask one question too, because I'm a member of the National Trust. The other day in coffee time, I wandered out into the back room and I couldn't believe the stuff that's in that back room. But the thing that I picked out straight away was the records of the Bunyip office. You know, the big folders where they've got the year and everything? They're sitting in there, and I said, oh, I noticed 4 or 5 missing, and somebody's borrowed them at the moment to read them and things like that. Who do they belong to? Is that part of the Bunyip office or the National Trust, or would that have been given to the National Trust?
So through the chair, I can't speak for the National Trust, but I believe they were given to the National Trust by the Bunyip. So we have a collection of bound bunyips too that were given to the Institute initially, and then kept going to the library in later years. So I think that they will have been given there from the Bunyip to the National Trust.
The reason for asking, I mean, I pulled out 58 years ago our wedding when we were married, and there's old Sambo in there with his pretty little girl and all that sort of stuff, and I thought, well, gee whiz, when you went through, Robin Richter and a few others said, oh, you know, this is how we got married and all. It's a huge collection, isn't it? You know, the Barnetts were so much attached to really being Gawler. And the other one, as Adrian asked, about Marchants. I mean, Trevor Marchant, when I look back, they were a real legend. You know, their photography and that in Gawler. So there's not really much has come in from the Marchant family.
So through the chair, we have in our collection quite a lot of Marchant things that the Institute gathered, I'm presuming in the 1960s when they did a big call out for Gawler history. So we have quite a bit of the Marchant things here. The plaque underneath the mares on there was created by Marchants, so as a key to the image. So they've got some diverse things from them in the collection.
And if I can add to that, the Marchant family spread across several parts. It was quite a wide family, and there's quite a market for old photographs as well. Just going back to the Bunyips, as far as I remember, there's 3 sets. One was to the Institute, one was to the National Trust, the other one was to the Smithfield Library. 3 sets. They were all bound similarly by one of the, I think it might have been at Bedford Industries, but I can't be sure on that. And each set is slightly not. So the fact that we have these 3 sets, I think over time will enable that we'll have one complete one. And of course, as we all know, the bound sets cover the period that is not on Trove. So the Trove finishes about 1954, and so people wanting to dig back into it, they're a very valuable resource, and we continue to keep the hard copies, is that right?
So through the chair, we collect the hard copies, and every couple of years I take them down and they're bound. As a resource, we still get people quite frequently looking for reunion photographs. We had a lady looking for sporting photographs for a sporting club that lost everything in the Pinery Fires. So people do, and they actually, as you said, Brian, they enjoy going in there and looking and seeing their photographs. So the hard cover copies are, until all of the Bunyip is available digitally and easily searchable, having those hard copies for people to look at is a fabulous resource.
Any more discussion? Would someone like to move that? Deb moves. Anyone second? Alan? Second. Would you all like to vote? Yeah. Yes. Show of hands. Thank you. Carried. Okay, I'm looking down here and I'm seeing that 9 is items listed for under items listed for discussion at future meetings is a management plan, and I think we just kick that on to the next meeting. Are there any questions without notice?
I'd just like to ask where the other photograph of the mayor's is.
So, through the chair, the mayor has been informed of our challenges in getting his photograph into. Yes, and then we got his photograph into the frame, only to find that the hanging mechanism no longer worked. So, so we're hoping. So the actual picture frame is down in the research centre, and we're hoping to have it up on the wall in a couple of weeks. We've ordered new hanging. It's a special hanging apparatus, so we've ordered that. But I have apologised to the mayor and kept him informed as to why he's not quite up there yet.
Helen?
Yes, I understand that the Cultural Heritage Centre had a visit by a group from the Brooksfield family. Just wondering if you could give us some information on that, please.
So through the chair, unfortunately I was sick, but so the Buchfelder there's a group of people who are very interested in Buchfelder Germans and researching them and understanding more. And part of that group are relatives of the Schomburg family who are interstate, and they came over to Gawler, and others too came up from the city and from Udunda, so they came from everywhere. It was a large group of 21 people. They had lunch at the Exchange Hotel, and they came down to the research centre to have a look at some of the items in our collection associated with that. So I think that's a strong indicator of cultural tourism coming, spending some money in town. Something else that I wanted to alert the committee to, which will be happening in March next year, is a city-based bus company has booked in to do 17 bus tours with me pretty much every day of March. They're bringing between 10 and 20 people on a minibus to have a tour of the Heritage Gallery, a behind-the-scenes tour with myself. And so they're coming up, and then they'll spend some other time. So I've directed them to the VIC, and they'll spend some other time in Gawler looking at other attractions. So again, these are people coming from the city to spend time at the Cultural Heritage Centre and in Greater Gawler. And yes, I am charging. So yes, I am charging for that.
Deb?
Helen, I'd just like to add too, I was actually there that day when they came through, and there was a lot of discussion, a lot of excitement. It was overall really enjoyed, and they stayed a long time.
I was just going to suggest that maybe there may be some of those groups would like tours of the actual civic centre, and so coordinating perhaps, you know, doing part of that as well.
If I can add, and sorry, it was a little bit of a... I actually attended that meeting. For the luncheon, I was unable to bring them down. That was done by one of the other attendees. They came with a whole range of items to show each other. So there were signet rings, there was titles, there was maps, and I understand that most of those, or some of those, were scanned so that there was a copy here, which is really important because those people did travel from interstate and all over. And it wasn't, while there was a focus on the Schomburgs, there were all the other families as well, so names and connections. And I think by offering them the ability, now that they will continue a relationship, they see themselves as part of Gawler. Their ancestors were part of Gawler. So again, I think it's great that we have that, we have the ability to interact, and I think again your focus on cultural tourism is a growing area, and with our new economic development manager who's been employed by the council, that's an area that we really need to support him in ensuring that that's brought to focus, because there are businesses obviously in the city who are well able to meet that. It would be great to see that continued here. And encourage some of our businesses to be able to pick up and meet that as well. So an area of interest that we perhaps need to keep a good monitor on, and certainly collect some statistics around that particular aspect of the business. So, yeah.
One of those items which was scanned was a lovely album of photographs, late 19th century Schomburg family photographs. They were really good, and yeah, they were whipped away and with their permission, and a copy's taken. No motions without notice. Deb.
I'm not sure how appropriate this is, but while I've been sitting here and thinking about reflecting on a lot of this, I also started reflecting on Judy and I and a few other people are having a meeting in early January to discuss Julia Mannix. And I wondered if, so it's a group of people coming together to talk about Julia Mannix to an artist who is going to do a bust for Pace. Would it be good to record that and type up that transcript and have that as a record on, you know, we talk about not having enough information about women in Gawler, and here we've got an opportunity where we're getting a lot of her friends to come and talk about her life in art in Gawler. So I just wondered if that was...
So through the chair, that would be a valuable addition to the Gawler Heritage Collection, and we would happily accept that.
Okay, is that it all? Is that everything? I now close the meeting at... Oh, I don't need to say that, do I? Merry Christmas.